We are Desiree and John from AngloThai.
And today we're doing a few demonstrations for Life Thailand and For Life Live. Today I'm going to cook a dish called Muu Yan Nahm Dtok. Essentially it's a whiskey marinated and grilled Iberico pork with a falling water herbal salad and roasted rice powder.
So to go with that, I've actually paired a wine. So today I've gone for a Viognier grape. So this is really readily available in any kind of local supermarket. This was only £8 from Co-op, and it goes perfectly with this dish. It's got loads of great stone fruits, but really kind of herbal and aromatic, but then has a really, really lovely kind of texture to it as well. And then the kind of creaminess element from the Viognier goes perfectly with the absolute melt in your mouth pork. You're in for a treat.
Okay, so please donate to this cause throughout the day, and we hope you enjoy the recipes. So the first thing we need to do for this recipe is make a marinade. It's got some very traditional Thai ingredients going on in it, and what we're marinating today is this piece of pork. It's Iberico pork. It's pluma cut, so this is from the shoulder of the animal. You might recognize Iberico as the Spanish breed of pig that's used for making jamon. So it's a pig that's eaten acorns for its whole diet. It's very rich, very flavorful meat, and it has like a lovely, you can see here, lovely marbling content on it. So it's going to grill up really nice. It's going to have a really nice flavor to it. So first thing for this marinade, we've got a few bits and bobs here, and we're going to start with coriander root. So this is the root from the coriander plant. This is used a lot in Asian cuisine for marinades, dipping sauces, curry pastes, all kinds of things. If you can't get hold of the root, then just use the stem from the coriander plant instead. So I've got the coriander root here. I'm just going to cut this down, and I'm going to knock up this marinade in a traditional Thai pestle and mortar. But if you want to at home, you can just use a blender. And then next thing, I've got some garlic, regular garlic. And just to start the kind of abrasiveness for the marinade and to get things broken down, I'm just adding a little pinch of salt into that. And then next thing, I've got some peppercorns, so white peppercorns. We're doing a teaspoon of that. Next thing that I'm going to add is palm sugar, so coconut sugar. I'm doing 1 tablespoon of palm sugar. And I'm just going to go in with some sort of wet ingredients. So first off, fish sauce, Thai fish sauce. This is obviously going to add saltiness and a bit of nice like depth of flavour. And then after that, I've got oyster sauce. Again, I'm using a Thai brand. This is going to add some umami and a little bit of sweetness. And then I've also got ketchup manis. This is like a sweet soy sauce. We're basically looking to just build layers of flavour in the pork. So those are kind of like my 3 sort of main seasonings. And then after that, I'm going to go in with a slug of whiskey. Thai whiskey is usually really nice for this. But here we're going to go with the Glenmorangie. What that's going to do is impart flavour, but it's also going to create tenderness in the meat. This is a particularly tender cut already, so it probably doesn't need it in that respect, but the flavour is really nice. And if you were to use a different cut at home, then this would add that tenderizing element to it. And then a little bit of oil here. That's just going to help everything bind together with the meat, but also when it comes to grilling later, that's going to have that oil element on with the fat from the animal as well. That's going to mean that it doesn't burn when we're putting it on the charcoal grill later. And that's my marinade done. I got a bit of it in the bowl. Get the pork in there. You want to make sure you get all of the marinade. Don't want to waste that. And really with this, it's kind of quite strong flavors, so they will penetrate quite quickly. So I'm going to marinate this one for 3 hours. I wouldn't recommend going too long. Traditionally, if you went overnight, I think the flavors are too strong at that point. So like 3-4 hours is going to be good for this. So we're just going to wrap that up, get it in the fridge, and then we'll come back to the next stage. Okay, so to start this recipe, we're going to make something called khao kua. It basically translates to rice and toasted, and it's a very traditional ingredient used in dishes in the Isan, northeastern province of Thailand. Essentially, what we're going to do is take raw, uncooked rice, and we're going to toast it off, and it gets golden brown, and it has like a sort of nutty feel to it when you eat it. So first step really is I'm going to toast it off over my charcoal grill here in a wok. Uncooked rice. Traditionally, this is sticky rice, as this is the rice used in that region of Thailand, but you can use any really. I'm actually using jasmine here because that's what I have. So I'm just getting the rice into the wok or pan, and at this point all we're doing is just moving it around to make sure it doesn't burn. This is kind of the same process as when you would toast spices. You can smell the fragrance of the rice now. As it's cooking and toasting, I can smell the smell of like jasmine rice. And it's important at this stage to always be watching it, always be stirring it, because you don't want it to catch. If it burns, then you're going to get like a sort of acrid, bitter flavour. And what we want is like golden, nutty, kind of toasty flavour. And I can see now the grains are starting to turn golden. So it's quite hot, my wok, so I'm just controlling the heat by taking it off. Might be able to see here now, starting to get like a properly golden brown colour. And that's the sort of desired colour we're looking for here, golden brown. The wok's hot, so I'm just going to get this straight into a mortar so it doesn't cook anymore. So at this stage now, khao kua, it's a roasted rice or toasted rice powder. So what I'm going to do is just coarsely start working this into a powder. It doesn't have to be super fine. Actually, like a little bit of coarseness in it is the desired effect. And what you'll find is you sort of get this like nutty, popcorny kind of feel to it. It's just another way of sort of being resourceful with what you have. Isan in Thailand is quite a poor region of Thailand, so the people there, who are predominantly rice paddy farmers, they are obviously using this ingredient more than just they're using this ingredient to just create something else than just a steamed rice. And if you don't have a pestle and mortar at home, or you don't think that yours is big enough or can do this work, you could literally put it in something like a coffee grinder or a spice grinder, even just like a strong blender. But just be careful that you're not completely grinding it down to like a sort of sand texture. You want it a little bit coarse, as I say, for that texture. So this is the texture we're looking for. So sort of like a coarse powder. And that's done. So this would be too much for just this one dish, but this actually keeps well airtight, in an airtight container. If you just put it in the fridge, or you can even keep it in the freezer, and the idea is that it will keep that kind of perfume, aromatic flavour of the rice then. So next thing, we're going to cook the pork, the star of the show. Okay, so I'm getting my grill hot. I don't want it to be obviously too hot that it burns, but at the same time we want to get like a nice charred effect onto the pork, that nice like charcoal flavour. Here's the pork that we marinated earlier. It's got a great smell now. I can smell the whiskey as well, which is really nice. And essentially all I'm going to do is cook it to a sort of medium. Like this quality of pork, you can eat it sort of blushing. Don't want it dried out and overcooked. And the fat content in it will keep it really nice and moist. This is sort of like a very rustic, traditional way in cooking as well in Thailand. Everyone would have these sort of charcoal grills. Nice, perfect for the summer barbecue weather as well. And as I say, I'm just trying to get like a nice colour on it to start with. Don't want it to burn, but a little bit of like black edges is nice. It's going to get that like real flavour of barbecue running through it. While this is cooking, I'll just explain the sort of the name of the dish. So Nam Dtok, it actually means falling water or waterfall. And essentially the dish gets its name from grilled meats cooking over charcoal, and when the juices drip down and hit the charcoals and spit back up, it's that dripping effect of the juices coming out of the pork or the meat that is named Nam Tok. So it's kind of like a very romantic sort of nice name given to it. So just watching the pork here, obviously you don't want to ruin it. It's a really nice cut. And as I said earlier, this is a cut from an Iberico pork, Iberico pig, and it's from the shoulder blade. Traditionally, this kind of style dish is always cooked with either neck or shoulder from the pig. So, you know, a good cut to have in this instance. And then after this, basically we're going to rest out the pork, and then the next thing to do is we're going to make a dressing and a salad. Really simple, and that'll be the finished dish. So this is looking great now. See, if you don't fancy lighting a barbecue for this, you could just grill your piece of pork. That's absolutely fine. But for me, you know, with the weather the way it is at the moment, I think it's a great idea to get your barbecue out and cook over coals. Just a really nice flavour then. So it's getting quite hot here now. Rest him out for a little bit on the side, and then we'll come back to cooking him. Nice sizzle. Nice bit of flame on there, so we're getting a nice colour on there. While that's happening, we can probably move on to the other elements. So what I'm going to do is make a dressing first. Again, this is like a traditional style dressing from the northeastern province of Thailand. So essentially we're looking for spice, salt, and sourness. These are kind of like typical flavours from that region. And to achieve that, I'm going to use fish sauce, lime juice, and a roasted chili powder. You can use just like chili flakes if that's what you have at home. Shop bought is fine. So we're going to start here. Some lime juice. And then I'm going to go sort of like the same quantity-ish of fish sauce. Going to add some chili powder, and I've also got a little bit of just plain white caster sugar here. The idea is that because these flavors are so strong, so salty, sour, spicy, you sort of need something to balance it out and round it out. You'll commonly find that sugar's used quite liberally in Thai savory dishes, something that we probably don't see as much of in the Western world, but it's used basically in everything in Thai dishes. So I'm going to go with just like a tablespoon of sugar in there and just dissolve that in. And then I've got this roasted chili powder. Traditionally, this dish is quite spicy, so I'm going fairly high on the chili powder. And it's as simple as that, really. You're just looking for sour, salty, spicy, as they say, with that sort of sugar to balance it out a little bit. Just give it a taste. Yeah, and that's spot on now. So I'm just having a look at my pork. He's resting out nicely now. He's got a great colour on him, pretty much there. We'll carry on letting that rest. And then basically we're going to move on to the salad element. Salad is kind of the sort of generic Western term, I guess you'd say for this. It's more an arrangement of different kind of herbs, very like aromatic herbal kind of properties to it. It's not like your sort of traditional Western style salad where you have like lettuce leaves and maybe some cucumber and tomato. So in this one, we've got a few bits and bobs going on. Some coriander. I've just sort of like picked it with a bit of stem on, so leaf and stem. Some mint here. And then I've also got some shallots and spring onion. I've sliced and picked all these things down already, but the thing that is going to kind of like really bring aromatic qualities to this dish is lemongrass, and I've also got some kaffir lime leaves. So kaffir lime is the leaf that comes from the kaffir lime tree. It also bears fruits that are very similar to a lime, except they have a bit more of an interesting kind of citrus property, a little bit bitter, and also the zest from the kaffir lime is used a lot. But the leaves are used throughout all kinds of Thai dishes, and we're going to use them here today. If you can't get fresh, frozen is probably the next best thing. But if you look in your local supermarket, they might be stocking it. I mean, I found these in my local Waitrose actually. So, you know, have a look around and see if you can find those, or you might be able to order them online. And the idea of not having this cut now is that they have very aromatic properties. So we kind of want to keep all that aromatic flavour into them. So I'm going to cut them last minute and then mix it all together in a bowl. So you want to go really thin on lemongrass and kaffir lime. It's kind of tough, but when you eat like a little bit of it thinly sliced, it's very delicious. Nice sharp knife for this. Watch your fingers. I usually end up nicking mine, but hopefully not today. And you want to be quite generous with like these nice herbal aromatic things. They're going to be really delicious to eat with the in the salad. And then when it comes to the kaffir limes, what you want to do is they've got this like rib running through the middle. You just want to pull that out. Again, that's got good flavour in it, and you can put that into a braise or a soup. And then at that point, you sort of got these two bits. You want to stack them up on top of each other, as shown here, and then fold that in half. And this is just going to be able to mean that you can cut it nice and thin. Again, you need a sharp knife. Watch your fingers. So that's like my aromatic stuff done. So basically, I'm just going to assemble everything together now. So we got the herbs going in, and then the shallots and spring onion, and then I've got all this like nice aromatic stuff. So we just get all of that in there as well. So just give that all a toss together. Nice vibrant colours. In there. Then we're going to just have a look at the pork, check it's all alright. Yeah, I can feel here that it's a nice cook. You know, there's some resistance, but it's not overly firm. So I think that's going to be a really nice sort of like blushing medium kind of thing. Kind of one thing I always say when you're cutting meat, what you want to do is you want to look for the sort of like the grain of the meat, the way that the muscle is structured. And what you want to do, for instance on this one, I can see the grain is going this way. So what I want to do is I want to cut against the grain. And what that is going to create is tenderness. You're basically just breaking down those fibers even more so that when you eat it in the mouth, it's going to be easier for you to eat and be a lot more tender. So grain's this way, so I'm going to cut it this way. Yeah, and as you can see, it's kind of like a blushing pink. If you don't want to have it at this kind of sort of medium blushing, then do feel free to cook it a little bit longer. But I know the quality of this pork is going to be amazing, and I'm not worried about that. And what I'm sort of doing is just going for like bite-sized angled pieces. It's very sort of traditional to cut everything in a sort of kind of bite-sized fashion in Thailand. Everyone eats with a spoon and a fork. You don't really have a knife when you're eating on the dinner table. So this is ideal because you can just scoop it up. So basically we're gonna plate the dish up. So I'm gonna just go for like some nice pieces of pork. Got some of this lovely dressing, so I'm just going to dress a little bit over. Other than the marinade, the pork hasn't had any other seasoning, so I just want to get like a little bit of that flavour going in there. And then it's just a case of getting the rest of this dressing in with our salad. And you don't want to drown it out, so we're just going to toss everything together quite gently. Nicely coated, but as I say, not drowned. And that's just going on top. Rustic, little bit of height on there. After all, height is flavour. So there we have the pork and the salad, and then the final flourish, we've got our roasted rice powder here. So this is going to add like a nutty texture, a nutty flavour and a little bit of texture to the dish. Very traditional accompaniment or ingredient used in this. So there we have it. This is Muu Yan Nahm Dtok. It's a grilled Iberico pork with a traditional style Eastern salad with roasted rice powder.